yeah, I think for me, it was just a case of I needed to work out who I was. And yeah, that definitely did that for me. I'm now, like, especially now, like, given what I do for a job, I have to talk to people. I have to be okay speaking to people. Like, I talk to strangers every day, and I help people. And that girl who hadn't done seasons would not have been able to do that. Whereas now I can, and I am very much who I always hoped I would be.
Friend, here's something I don't know if you know. While the podcast is a thought of mine for a long time, thinking of me absolutely could not be doing this without our very own Wizard of Oz, Kyle, at Goodnight Podcasting Solutions. Kyle's turnaround time, dedication and level of service means that I never have to second guess or worry about the level of support in getting our messaging out to you. If you're curious as to starting your own podcast or just want to see how it might spread your message, reach out to Kyle at kylegoodnight.com or check our show notes. I mean it when I say that we couldn't be doing this without him. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Thinking of Me podcast, where I'm really excited to have Cerys with us. Cerys is a good old friend. We were chatting before we came on. We're getting closer and closer to that O mark. Cerys is a friend from the Zante days and is a PT now, and I'm hoping that she'll share a bit of her journey with us today in not only her own transformation, which is insane, but also the work that she puts in for her girls. And if you check out Cerys Stonefield coaching and really see not just the images, but you can see the graft. We were chatting about grafting before coming on, that this gal puts in. She always has. And just as Cerys, to say to you, and for anyone who maybe doesn't know you, and anyone who does, who's listening, I hope would agree, you just always ooze life. And you always ooze authenticity as such, and you just can't help but be friends with you, even when you're giving out about tables that aren't cleaned and things like that. And I go with work and work ethic. I'm just really glad that we got to organise this, and I know this is Cerys' first podcast episode, so we're here to guide and roll and flow. And if you want to introduce yourself or kind of share anything to anyone who maybe doesn't know you, and we'll flow from there.
Hi. I have never done anything like this before, so I don't really know how to get on with it. But yeah, I'm Cerys. I'm a PT and online coach now, and basically just get girls feeling their best 24/7, growing confidence whilst also on my own journey. I'm currently working towards jumping on stage next year and competing as a bikini athlete. Yeah. Yeah, it's very exciting. It's scary, but it's also, different step in my journey for sure. But yeah, that's from ex-Zante girl to fitness queen.
Well, that's what I mean. You've been wearing the bikinis for the last decade. You might as well
step on stage.
100%. That's really exciting, Cerys. Let's flow from there, because I suppose we would have met 2018 was my first season, and we both were at very different kind of peak life stages. I think in different aspects, in different ways. I was anyway, for sure, in certain. I was. And then I suppose what kind of catch us up, give us a bit of a timeline, I suppose, of kind of some of those kind of key points, because as a gal in your 20s, and as you say, like ex-ante gal.
Yeah, PT. 2018, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, really, and I was not in the greatest place in my life. I remember, obviously, that was my peak of being very overweight, was 2018. That was my point there, where I remember packing for Zante that year, and the amount of weight I had put on from leaving the season at the end of 2017 to the start of the 2018 season. I was packing my suitcases and I was crying over the fact that I was having to pack like a bigger size shorts than I ever had. Like, it's a memory that sticks in my mind, because I literally cried to my mum, and I was cutting labels out of shorts, as if anyone's going to see that. Like, but for me, I was in such a bad place. And obviously went over that season. Yeah, think I still slayed, you know. I still gave out like I was confident queen. I was not. It was a lie. But then that's when I got back from that season, that was when I was kind of like, right, enough is enough now. I can't sort of live like this. I need to be happy, essentially. And I was at uni. Obviously, I was doing criminology with the idea that I was going to be a detective. Big switch up. And that's when I actually did fall in love with the gym. I got a really good PT, and he fully changed my life. Like, journey I've been on through seasons, you know, going like losing loads and then going on the season and trickling it back on and then losing more. Like, it's been a very up and down journey. Like, Zante has a very, very special place in my heart, you know, but I was glad for the seasons to be over. It was my time, you know. I needed to focus on myself more rather than drinking and crying over boys, you know, and everything like that.
Never happened.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Definitely still doesn't happen. No. But yeah, like, and then obviously I still finished my degrees and that, but I obviously decided that this was what I wanted to do, and I'm so glad that I did. Finish uni, finish seasons after 5 years of doing seasons and consuming far too many gins and waters. I hung it up and obviously stepped into my full self-transformation journey. I think once I finished seasons, that was when it was kind of time for me to go all in, and obviously I did, you know. And it's been up and down. Like, there's been lots of changes in the past. What is it? Is it 4 years? 4 years now?
We're not going to talk timelines like that now.
It's sickening.
It is. Like, it was 5 years this year since
you did,
we did a season.
Yeah, because my
following year,
so like my first season was 2017, all the way through to 21, even through lockdown years. You know, we love that.
That was the best.
It was insane.
So we'll take us back there for anyone who maybe is at that point, and especially if any of our Zante friends are listening as well, like, you know, the crack of first season and then second season syndrome as such, you know, and the sense of family, or just the sense of getting away. And whether that's away, in my case, it was head in the sand, you know, and I knew that then. I didn't know how to get away from it, but I knew that's what was happening. It was the case of, don't know what I'm doing. Had deferred my final year of college, all that kind of thing. College in Ireland, uni in the UK, same thing. And ended up working the corner instead. And for what? Like, I don't even know. How do you, like, 100 days on the trot kind of thing, but maybe about 1 day off? Whatever you kind of want to look at it once peak starts. And I kind of came mid-season that year. And I suppose, Cerys, like, what kind of brought you there? Had you kind of had the experience of like going on a holiday and then seeing, oh, I want to kind of do this kind of life? Or what kind of kept bringing you back? Because, as I say, I know head in the sand syndrome was what kept bringing me back.
I went on holiday in 2016, and we had such an amazing time. It was hilarious. And when we got back, it was actually my friend who said that she was going to do a season, and I didn't really know who I was then, so I kind of just was like, okay, I'll do it too, you know, like, yeah, all right. And then she decided she wasn't going to do it, and I was still kind of like, I think I'm gonna, because I just started uni and I was in the uni life, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna. And then my other friend was like, no, why don't we just do like a really long holiday? And I was like, no, like, I need to go and work out who I am, because I currently don't know, you know. Like, I've been through a lot in my last few years of school and college that I was like, I don't even know who I am. So I went, you know, even though it was not my idea, it was me just kind of like following what my friend was doing. And genuinely the best thing I ever did in my life, for me as a person, because I realized who I was. You know, I realized that I am my own person. I'm funny, I'm outgoing, which back then I thought I was a shy girl. Like, I did think I was a shy girl, and I think it brought me out of my shell, because it wasn't like I didn't know anyone. you have to make friends, like, and you know, you're in an environment where you're a number. Like if you get sacked, someone else will replace you. You don't matter, you know, so you have to stand out. And I mean, like my first year, I went through my fair share of jobs and very quickly realizing that PRing was not for me. You know, it was not. But, you know, I think that really built me into the person I am because of all that, you know, sacking, all that drinking, and then realizing that, you know, these people are actually very much like me. And yeah, it just brought me out of the shell that I'd like sort of I'd sort of like wrapped myself up with cotton wool to keep myself protected from anything. And I didn't want to let anyone go near me or close to me. And by going out there and, you know, I had to take the cotton wool off, you know, like I had to be me. So yeah, I think for me, it was just a case of I needed to work out who I was. And yeah, I mean, that definitely did that for me. I'm now like, especially now, like, given what I do for a job, I have to talk to people. I have to be okay speaking to people. Like, you know, I talk to strangers every day, you know, and I help people. And that girl who hadn't done seasons would not have been able to do that. Whereas now I can, and I am very much who I always hoped I would be, you know, outgoing, you know, like everyone always says, you know, how easy I am to speak to because I just like yapping. I'm a yapper. I always will be. I love it. But yeah, I know. I am. It was definitely self-discovery, I think, for me that I ran abroad. And then I think I did start to use it as a way to run away from my thoughts and feelings. After a while, you know, it was like, doesn't matter what happens at home because I'm running away all summer. And that was a realization that it took me till 2021 to realize that's what I was doing. And yeah, it was Liv that actually sort of said that to me. She was like, you can't keep running away to Zante instead of dealing with your own problems. And I was like, yeah, maybe you're right. You know, but like again, like I would never ever change it because I mean, the friends I've made as well, like lifelong, you know, family essentially, that I cannot imagine my life without, you know. And even people who like you speak to for 5 minutes can end up being like someone you speak for the next 5 years. Like it's insane.
My Instagram is still the same. It's like you see random someone pops up on your feed. Who's that person? You realize it's a tourist from like 2020 or something.
I actually had that the other day. This guy, he'd replied to my story, and I was like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "Oh my god, that is a tourist from I think 2019." And I was like,
I said that to you actually. That's right. Last 2 tourists came to Dublin and we went for a pint, and they used to call me Tinkerbell, and I was like, "Oh, do you remember these guys?"
So funny.
You know, and that you do build connections, and I love exactly what you said there about like taking off the cotton wool because you, as you say, you have no choice. It's like cutthroat in a way. So you either do or don't, and like I went for like the head in the sand kind of thing, and I love how like Liv like, for being able to hold up that mirror. And I had the exact same thing. It was 2020 for me, where it was like I kind of had the self-reflection though. I was like journaling, I was dying in bed. I was like, this isn't COVID, but this is like this is worse than Zante flu. Like I was just in that kind of thing. It's like, what am I doing? You know, I kind of really saw that the loop of like, you can't keep doing this, you know. One way or another, whether you hold up your own mirror or someone else kind of helps you see it. Like when you see that, you can't unsee it, and then I hear you there and like making the change. But yeah, it's the kind of place where, you know, there's so much happening all the time as well, and there, you know, you can't keep up nearly with some of those connections, with some of those, you know, family kind of things. And like any family, whether it's a seasoned family or your own family, you know, there is highs and lows, there's dips and there's fallings out, and there's all kinds of drama, and you know, airbags of secrets. We know where Cerys keeps her secrets. And all these kind of things where if I hadn't have found that, like, it's funny you say with your friend, because I remember calling one of my best friends from childhood, like after I come home, and we met up, and I was kind of catching her up on all the things, because I didn't realize, and to this day, like, I know it sounds insane and sounds so naive, but I did not know Zante was Zante. Like, I just was Googling Europe working abroad things, and a rep company came up, and I won't name them, but I was like, oh yeah, let's go do that. And I saw like the blue water, they'd all these different places, and one of them was like Zakynthos, and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds nice. I was like, I'll pick fruit or wait tables. And it was right smack in the middle of the World Cup or whatever, soccer, whatever shite was going on anyway. So the strip, you know yourself, was insane, 2018. And I was like, where am I? You know, but it was the kind of thing of, I had a month paid. I had literally spent any kind of money I had on getting the flight and getting out there. So it was like, I have to make this work. I had no choice. And sure, then, you know, discovered the power of you wouldn't do it. You know, as Zante is saying, for anyone listening who, you know, doesn't know the power of that, it just is law. And there's some things out there, there's a rule and it's law, and you do it whether not, and it's personal development.
I didn't play those games. I always say that, like, I was like, I don't play these silly games. I don't do it. But yeah, it is a weird little play. Like, I always like say to people, it's almost like Love Island. Like, when you are in that confined space with these same people all day, every day, from the minute you wake up, because you're sharing a room with someone, you're going to work with the same people, you're then going out after work with the same people, you're seeing them all the time. Like, your bonds, they just develop so quickly, and that is why obviously there's so much drama out there as well, because, you know, something happens with a boy for 5 minutes, that's like 5 months at home, and it's the dramas of it's so true. Like, time is different. Like, you're seeing a boy for a week out there, it's like a year at home. Like, it's just, and like I said, you know, you could speak to someone for 5 minutes and then all of a sudden you're spending every single day with them and you're like, oh my god, you're like my best friend. You know, it's the time you are in a bubble, and everything outside of it, like, my parents wouldn't hear from me the entire time I was in Zante. Like, they knew I was fine. I'm not one of these that's constantly like, I need to see my mum. Like, I'm not like that. You know, she knew I was all right. You know, I'd post on Instagram every now and again, so she'd be like, oh, she's alive. You know, that's all my mother was bothered about. And yeah, I threw myself into the deep end, and I threw myself out there to make friends and, you know, develop relationships. And I knew I didn't want to spend the rest of my life in the town that I was brought up with people that I didn't really want to be friends with. I wanted to make deep connections with people that wanted to be my friend, rather than we're just friends because we've known each other for so long. You know, like, that probably sounds really harsh. But I realized that these people were my people, and you're all the same mindset, and, you know, you're all there for very different but very similar reasons. And yeah, it's a crazy world. Like, when you're there, like, the outside world doesn't exist, because it's just, that's what's happening. And that's why people end up in arguments. And I mean, we've probably had our fair share of disagreements while being over there. And
I don't think, like, I can count on one hand,
it's not been a lot.
Real big things out there for me, because, like, it has to be a lot. Now, don't get me wrong, if there is something, and particularly 2018, Lauren, if there was something that it was big of an issue, but no, like, I don't think, like, it's quite interesting. How do we talk about this on a podcast? Like, even at that, there's like some of those kind of drama things that, like, you full circle with. Like, I was out on holiday last year, and, you know, kind of having a conversation with someone where 2018 me, like, swore blind is my mortal enemy, you know. And you're like, that's just youth, you know. And that, like, not like the old women in the room, but, like, what would you kind of say as to, like, maybe, because I noticed this, actually, like, I don't know if you saw out on holiday, it's different now. That kind of disassociation doesn't happen in the same way, because the social media side of it is the same. Like, you had no data, like, it just wasn't an option. Like, I remember going off in the ped for ped days where, like that, because with love, I was like, oh, fuck everybody in here, you know. I was like, I'm going off for the day and I just want some solo time. And I'd have no, like, when I think about it, like, and when I tell the stories of getting lost in the mountains, I used to love it, where all you had was maybe the sun as a bit of a guide for time, and then you come back because you'd no way of but you knew yourself, like, so, and you'd sit in Chevys and try get some Wi-Fi twice a week to, like, that post something on social or to phone home. But it's not the same now. That
even the environment is just not the same. Like, like you said, I think a lot of it is to do with social media, and there is so much social media presence out there, which obviously there will be because social media is so massive now. Like it's like 50% of my job. Do you know what I mean? Like, so like social media is massive, and you they're not going to act the way that we did in 17, in 18, in 19, even like 20 to a certain extent, you know, like we didn't care. Whereas now there is so much thought into how people act because you don't want to get posted doing something stupid because it follows you. Whereas like I know I have plenty videos on my phone of people and myself and probably you of us doing just stupid things that you wouldn't even think to they probably wouldn't even think to do now over there because they're like can't do that. Like I think especially for girls, social media is a lot for girls now. I think it's for more them. Like they're more bothered about looking their best 24/7. Like the way I used to rock up to work sometimes, you know, I mean, we always had a bit of glam about us because we were G-spot girls. That sounded really dodgy.
Yeah.
You know, like G-spot's a very classy cocktail bar. Let me just put that out there. You know, but we had that class about us where we did. We had to look nice, but even so, compared to like the way like girls dress over there now, like they're wearing heels to work. You would not catch me wearing heels to work, other than my little platform sandal things. Yeah, like because I mean, I was running around for literally however long my shift was, from the minute I started to the minute I finished. Like, can you imagine me doing that in stilettos? Like, no.
But the work I think is different too. And, you know, again, as the kind of reminiscent old pair here, like it's that kind of, that is that graft. And I'm curious like how you see that reflect in your own business and with online and that too. But before we do, I actually found this before we came on, and it's I think this is 2019, I want to say.
My God.
In the water park. For anyone listening, it's just a little keyring photo where I don't think like even from that side of it now, like people actually would bother getting the keyring photo, and like it's things like that. As you say, like maybe the bikini you wouldn't wear because it would end up on social media or something like that if you weren't comfortable then to just go and do whatever you do with your day. You know, I think it is harder for definite. In the education field, which, you know, as we know, like I'm transitioning out of and away from, and but like what I've seen even in the last like 5 years, never mind the last 10 years, and how do you see it, Cerys? It's like in that online sphere of, for girls particularly, like as you say, that always on kind of presence, like there's no space, or do you see where there's a space maybe with your clients, or that they do get that break?
Like, I think it's very hard now. I think especially being a female, you are literally bombarded with teeny tiny girls, and then all of a sudden you've got these teeny tiny girls with the biggest ass in the world, and you know it does affect you, and it is all angles, it's all posing, like, and it's, you know, certain things that they're wearing, but it does, I think it's so hard to switch off from that because you're seeing that and you're like, well, why am I not looking like that? And it is all angles. It's like I literally do my posing routine and I manipulate the way my body is seen to mimic the poses I need to do. Whereas if I just stood normally, it wouldn't look as tight as, you know, it does. And I think that is a big thing for girls' confidence these days, is how much you see. It's insane. And also all the editing apps you can get. Like there's, oh my God, like I could literally contort my entire body to look totally different just by an editing app. And, you know, we didn't have that as much. Well, maybe we did, but I didn't know about anything like that. You know, I think the most I could do when, you know, back in our day of Zante was like remove an object out of a photo. Like we didn't have like editing photos.
More than I,
you know,
I had nothing like that.
Yeah,
the filters.
I mean, like the Snapchat dog filter.
Kind of a, you know, that kind of one.
Yeah, and like that kind of thing. Like now, girls are so good at editing their photos that you think that is what they look like. And I think it's so much harder now, because I think that's why the gym world has blown up the way it has, because people do want to improve what they look like. They do want to improve the way they see themselves. And because you have so much there constantly on social media, you, it does affect your confidence. Like even me now, like, obviously at the end of a dieting phase, like I'll still sit on social media and be like, but I don't look like that. Why do I've just done all this? Why? But it, like, I know in myself now, but it's still, sometimes you see things and you're like, why do I look like that? And I think it is really hard for girls now, but even guys, every guy is
Yeah.
ripped with a six pack and, massive delts and a sick back. But, again, it's editing apps, it's lighting, it's, it's hard I think it's hard for everyone, to be honest. Like, I don't think anyone's let off easy, male or female. I think there's so much that impacts our confidence in ourselves, essentially.
Yeah. And especially like that body image side of things, as you say, like when you're somewhere. So speaking as the gal who went out 2018, the heaviest I had ever been, like to go and work a season that I didn't even know I was going to go work. So I like had packed like family holiday vibe kind of like outfits and stuff like that. Like, and we won't go there. We won't even talk about some of the few bits or whichever. But yeah, like, but it's the kind of thing of, there's an element of, I am where I am. This is not like the real world in a way, and like I just have to let it go now or something. And yeah, so like from that like escapism side of things, like I know I can walk into the gym, and I'm glad like you kind of mentioned that there, like in the focus for people, where I go, okay, there's nobody kind of worried about me as such. Like I've kind of gotten used to it. Like in the beginning I was sick, like I fell and I was sick on the very first day walking in, the first 20 minutes of being there. And now it's kind of like, I know no one actually really cares. Everyone's all just too busy like kind of doing their own thing. So what would you have loved to have kind of known kind of then, in that I'm coming to explore phase, and when you kind of had that mirror reflection with Liv of kind of going, I'm going to stop running away, I'm going to run towards this, I'm going to do something different. Like what would be that kind of recipe? I make no secret of the fact that my life changed completely when I reached out to Achievable Fitness 365. Jay is someone who not only gets the fitness side of things, he gets the human side of things. And in having someone who's walked the walk and talks the same thoughts has made me comfortable from the very get-go. Actually, that's a complete lie. I fell in the door and was sick on my first day, but kind of after that I got comfortable somewhere along the line. Jay knows people, he knows the industry, and he's someone who will know you better than you know yourself. The accountability that he holds, the standard that he sets for you and not for anyone else, is what brought me back into me originally, more than 4 years ago. If you're ready to begin your fitness journey and don't know where to reach out, try Jay. And as I say, my life has never been the same since.
I just think like it's a hard one, I think, because it's different for everyone. But I think the minute you work on yourself, whether it's in the gym, whether it's just eating better, whether it's looking after your hair, looking after your skin, like learning to love the person that you are and being yourself, I think from that point you'll have nothing but success. I think when you're constantly hating on yourself, I think you're constantly like, subconsciously you're attracting negativity because you're being negative. And I think, love comes from within, and it's like, it's the same kind of saying, like you can't love someone else until you love yourself, RuPaul out there. But it's true, like you've got to like yourself, and the only way you will is by doing what you need. And like for me, that was sorting my fitness out, essentially. But yeah, I think it's all just about, you've got to love yourself and you've got to be confident in yourself, because it's hard. Like I can happily say that I like the person I am and I'm very happy with the person I am, but that's taken a long time for me to be able to say that, and through a lot of experiences and hardships and heartaches to turn around and say, I like the person I am. This is what I have to offer, and this is me. Do you know? And it's something a lot of people can't do because they just constantly compare themselves to others. And I stopped doing that, and I've never been happier.
Love that, Cerys. And you can see that, you know, and I said before we came on that, you know, just in seeing your socials, and again, for anyone listening, like when you see just your Instagram alone, like of how it comes out of you, like that's what I mean. Like you're that kind of person. I met you that way. You're still the same, you know. And you know, I know you mentioned G Spot there. G Spot is the cocktail bar when you know Harry and Liv are running it, and is the case where for me as the PR, the one standing outside getting you to come in, you know, as I joke like, oh, on the corner, it was so easy to believe in the place, you know, because it genuinely somewhere I was drinking before looking for work, and you know, as you say, like the kind of classy element to it, just the fun of the family, and that each person in their, you know, in all our own cogs, like had strengths in that. So as I say, like for you, that bubbly side of it of just knowing who you are. As soon as you know you can't, like that's it. Like you're attracted to Cerys and you know your friends as such. Um, as I say, when you see that on your socials, it's so obvious, especially for people who know you. So, you know, as I'm saying, for anyone who doesn't know you, it radiates across. And for people who do, you can just see that in you, Cerys. And yeah, you mentioned before we came on as well that like you don't drink now when you're on holidays and that kind of thing, or, you know, and kind of paring things back from that whole side of it. When did you start to feel that transformational difference, I suppose? Like, did you go back on holiday at all after that time in 2021 when you decided I need to make a change, I'm going to put some focus on me and go to the gym and become the PT? Or when did you start to kind of feel that shift?
I mean, I left in 2021 because I had an interview for a PT job. Didn't end up going for that anyway because it wasn't what I wanted. And then I got my job at a JD Gyms. And once I sort of got there, I was like, right, now's the time that I need to put into myself as well as my own business. Obviously, starting from zero, that's the hardest part. Like I had nothing. You know, I've done a few things online with people during lockdown, but I had to start from the bottom. And you know, anyone that's done a PT qualification or is currently a PT or anything like that will know you learn nothing on your PT course. Like what they teach you is absolute crap. And you learn everything from doing it and doing your own research afterwards. And like if I look back at the way I PT'd when I first qualified to now, I would hysterically laugh in her face because like the changes, the differences. And I think as well, like I kind of still fell into those same routines throughout 2022, and it wasn't until 2023 where everything sort of changed for me. You know, I was still 22, we were still going out a lot, drinking a lot, you know, making silly choices and stuff like that, you know, whilst I was still sort of working on myself, you know, getting to an all right place. I kind of fell into the habit of like, oh, I feel okay now, so I'm just going to stop dieting or whatever. And 2023 had a significant impact on me and my life. You know, a lot of things happened, and I finally decided to go all in my journey, and that was completely stop the drinking, diet fully, do a photo shoot, put 100% into me and working on myself. I had a lot of healing and self-development to do in 2023. 2023 was a very hard year for me, and I think that was sort of the 2023 was the tipping point for me where I finally realized that I need to like the person I am. And the only way I can do that is through being the best version of myself. And I worked hard for it, you know, not just physically, mentally as well. And that was my turning point. And then I went on a holiday, I think straight after my photo shoot. And I was just like, when I'm abroad, I can drink and I'm totally fine. You know what I'm like? I could literally drink all night long. You won't even tell that I'm drunk. The minute I drink in England, I'm gone. Like I can be totally fine, and then all of a sudden, I'm dead. So I realized that honestly, and I realized as well, 3 days I'm still not back to normal after I've had a drink. You know, I'm still struggling in the gym. My sleep's a bit crap, and I just thought I don't really like drinking. And I think because we did so much of it, I think I just grew out of it. But then I left my PT job at JD in 2023 for many reasons, and I moved to a PT studio, and it was like I could breathe for the first time in a good 6 months, maybe 7 months. I fell into old habits a little bit, and then I thought, no, that's it now. I don't want to drink. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy how much money it costs. Yeah, like I would rather eat a pizza than drink 10 drinks. Do you know what I mean? That was 2023 was a big turning point for me. And I think last year I really discovered a love for myself. So it's a long time that it's taken me to realize that. But you know, situations that happened from 21 up until 2024 really molded me into the person I am, you know, through negative and positive things. I worked very, very hard on my business, getting, you know, my clients, like working very hard on making sure that they feel incredible, but working on myself in the background. I've always been a very emotional person. You will know that. I cry. I get it out my system, and it helps. Yeah, like the situation I went in 2023, it just it's like a switch went off in my head. That was like, enough.
I know what you mean.
I need to be me, and that is what I bring now. You know, I bring to the table. It's me. So like it or hate it, do what you want.
And I really hear that, because that's like 2 years from after you kind of had that first click, and it was always kind of the same. Like, I don't know if you had this moment, but I know I had, where it was like after 2 years in, after losing the weight, because I had the same kind of thing. It was that moment I knew I had to like come home from Zante. That was fine. That was 2020, where it was like, okay, let's do the job and accept that like travel isn't happening first, which is the kind of one anyway. So that was fine. Then the next, like, you get one slap in the face, then you get another one to kind of wake you up again to go, this is what your body image is like. And I was like, I'm so far from the person who I know I am, you know, and like in, you know, and you kind of get that. So that was fine. And then it was like 2 years after that, it was kind of, I suppose like I suppose in 2022 and kind of coming into 23 myself, I suppose too, where it's like, I'm not happy. I've kind of got all these things done now, and I've lost the weight, and I just didn't have that comfort feeling. It was like I wasn't comfortable succeeding or something. Like I hadn't actually been able to be comfortable in, being on a higher frequency or something like that. Like, and kind of now having attention in a positive way, you know, for the first time in, I don't know, like more than 5 years at that stage, I'd say. And that can kind of nearly set you back quicker than if you actually had those first kind of mirror moments, you know, some of those first kind of slaps in the face. So did you like kind of get some of that kind of imposter syndrome at any point with body image, weight,
Everything,
business, all that kind of thing?
everything, myself, my work, like I suffered a lot with that. I mean, I still get it now. Like I still get it now, where I like one of my mates that I speak to, because he's an online coach as well, and he's literally like, you need to chill out. Like, you know what you're doing. And I'll be sat there like, but do I know what I'm doing? Sometimes I don't think I do. And he's like, you do. And I know he gets annoyed at me, but he still replies when I'm chatting, you know, absolute waffle. But like, even just in my own self, like I was just kind of like, do I even know what I'm doing? Like, you know, like, am I who I think I am? And like I said, it took that second time, because it's funny as well. Like, you know, I said how I run away to Zante. Like, situations happened in 2023, and what did I do? I went and booked a 24-hour trip to Zante because I was sad. I was upset. I was lost, and I literally just jumped on a flight and went for 24 hours to clear my head. And it, like I said, it will. I know. Yeah, it's not like it's a quick flight.
I'm laughing because I did the same. Not to Zante, I went to Scott. Yes. Scott was in Tenerife. So for friends listening, you know, if anyone who knows Scott, you know exactly, you know, kind of why I would have learned that. But he was Tenerife at that point, and Scott is gay, who trained me in as PR, and taught me all the rabbit hole ways of life, I suppose, of how to be a season worker. And again, it was kind of that love heartache moment of like, I'm running away from this kind of situation. And so I did, and I went for something silly, like 4 days, 3 nights, something like that, and wasted a ton of money just to kind of put that moment of what do I do? I kind of put the blinkers on. So
jumped.
what I'm getting,
I was saying, I just literally jumped at it, and I rung my mate, I rung Chindle, and I was just crying, and I was not okay. And he was like, why don't you just come over? And I was like, I can't do that. And I looked at flights, and I think I think I flew out on the Saturday morning and flew back on the Sunday afternoon. So it was literally, from the minute I landed, it was a 24-hour cycle. I think it was like £70 return. And I booked it there and then. I was like, I'm coming. And because I just didn't know what to do. And I knew what I wanted was I needed my friends. And, and like, I needed straight talking Liv. I needed to talk to Liv and tell her what was going on so I could get her opinion of it and just turn my mind off for 24 hours. And it helped massively. And it sort of set the stone for what I needed to do next. And I'm so glad I did do that. But again, it'll always be my escape place. Zante will always be, especially whilst certain people are still there. It is just, it's, anything happens. And that happened in 2023. And I was like, Liv, still was right. I do just run away every time. So it was nice, like last year, to not feel like I was running over there. I went on holiday twice because I wanted to.
I hear you. And like, that's why I didn't go. That's why I didn't go back, because I didn't trust myself. I was like, I could go, and between paying Dublin rent and then with protecting the weight loss and also kind of knowing I was done. Like I kind of was done. And I was afraid that, like, if again, you're around what feels like family and friends, and I went, then something kind of clicked in like May 20. Oh my God, what year are we in? May 23. There was like a tiny little window, and then the nature of kind of work, it was like Irish people didn't know about Zante. So like, yourself, I think 2018 there was myself, I won't name names on here, but like, yourself, some of the characters, the twins and all that, like, and girls, who you are, all and so on, where there wasn't that same kind of hype about it here, and then suddenly now there was. And the age gap, and then with work, it was the kind of thing of, okay, if I don't go now, I'm not going to get out, because and I was starting to want to see people, and I started to really miss it at that stage. So that had been really nice. And then last year, I suppose, it was the same kind of thing. It was like, no, I'm going for a holiday, and knew that I could enjoy it. But sure, then it was the kind of thing of, you start to tell yourself, isn't it easier? Like, you kind of forget all those hard bits. You forget, the drinking too much. You forget just the rabbit hole a little bit. Like, it's great to switch off, but what are you switching off from now? Or what is it that you're avoiding doing? And I was like, I know
it was wrong.
While it's still home, I was like, it's not, and it's great to see people. It's not where I can be full time anymore. Like that stage is done, and if it's not done now, then it's not bringing me anywhere further. And what do you do, Cerys? I'm curious, and especially for anyone listening who maybe needs to find another way of kind of switching off, or how do you tackle those things that you run away from now? Or like, what did you kind of find helps? I know the gym is one, and I like agree massively there.
But I mean, the gym is like the best thing, especially like if it's something that's making you angry, even better, because you just start throwing weights around. It's great. But for me now, like doing things that I genuinely enjoy, that helps with me, because I'm a work. I probably would say I'm sort of a workaholic. I am constantly on thinking about clients. Like, I'll be laid in bed sometimes and I'll be thinking about someone's calories. Like, I'll be like, what do I need to do that? Like, I don't switch off, and I know it's a bad thing and a good thing. And I know it, like, that's why I burn out sometimes, because I do not turn off. But for me, just doing things that makes my brain switch off for a bit. So if it is going on a walk, hiking a mountain,
Yeah.
spending time with people that I like spending time with, you know, just, do you know what? Sometimes just sitting and watching TV, you know, like the
Yeah.
things that you don't need to think. Like I still struggle with turning off. Like it's definitely something I still struggle with. And like this week, for example, yesterday I went to a different gym to what the gym I normally go to, just to switch up my usual routine. And it was nice because I didn't know the gym like I know my gym at the back of my hand. I didn't think about anything because I was thinking about like, oh, where's this machine? And oh, you know, these new people. And doing things like that you enjoy. Like obviously everyone's different with what they enjoy, and for me it's just getting on with the stuff I need to get on with, but also doing the stuff that I find fun. And if it is a case of me sitting and playing a game on my phone for an hour, I let myself do that, you know, rather than being like, you need to be working, you need to be doing this. Like, and like I said before about my mate who just listens to my problems a lot, he tells me all the time, you need to turn off, you need to switch your brain off, because you just keep burning yourself
Mhm.
out. Because I love my job, I
Mhm.
love helping people, but it's still a job. And it's like, you know, if you had an office job, it's like doing that for 24 hours a day. You're going to burn out. It's just because
Yeah.
obviously my job involves talking to people and helping them with what to eat for dinner. But yeah, for me, like to help me switch off, it's just doing things that I enjoy, which is just being out in nature, being outside. Even though I complain about doing my steps a lot, I like being outside. Once I'm out there, I'm okay. It's just actually getting out and being on holiday as well, like going and seeing things.
Yeah.
I love like, you know, art and history and seeing things, you know, like, so for me, like that's something I really enjoy. Like I would happily go and walk around a museum. Do you know? I love stuff like that, which people wouldn't think I would, but I do, you know. So I think it's just finding something that allows you to not think about everything else in your life. I think that's the key to it. Still something I'm trying to figure out, clearly.
I think we're all the same, and I know I am, Cerys, because I don't know, I found anyway that I went from, I call it like Benjamin Button syndrome sometimes, where it's like you go from like old woman to like, okay, so for me, oh sorry, I started saying that story and I completely abandoned it earlier. My friend from home after I'd come back to my first season, and I was like, I can't believe I enjoyed something like that. And she was like, of course you would, Lauren, like you were
Yeah.
always a bit wild. And I was like,
Oh.
she had remembered, yeah, she remembered that part of me that I had forgotten
Yeah.
about, you know, because I had like left it to one side for a few years. So I do think there's cycles of what we enjoy kind of doing, and again that would surprise maybe people in different circles, you know, that kind of thing of like I could happily sit and crochet with my granny at the fire, you know, no bother, but then equally, you know, put me out on
Yeah.
the strip, you
Yeah.
know. And you know, that kind of thing. So I do think there's no yeah, there's no like perfect solution to being able to
Yeah.
wind down. But one thing I started to do that really helped with like when I noticed just how bad my sleep was for that side of things is like I mightn't even be home until 10 o'clock or after, between work, after work stuff, drama stuff, half eaten a bit of a dinner, you know, maybe the gym
Yeah.
somewhere in there, and then actually getting to bed. And I was like kind of realizing, sure, no wonder I'm not sleeping, I'm not switching off, was just slower music, like still Benson Boone and
Yeah.
stuff like that, like, but like just any kind of like slow music, the ritual of like lighting a candle, brushing the teeth, doing the
Yeah.
face, and get like 30 minutes. That
A
helps
good
me slow
sleep
down. I don't know,
routine.
it's not a perfect thing,
100%.
but
Like
yeah. When I learned that, it's like you know it,
you
but
don't
then
do
I
it.
wasn't doing
Yeah.
it. So
Like something for
yeah,
me
when I learned to kind of get that
that's really
kind of
helped me, because like when I get into bed, I'm on my phone, you know, I'll, and it wasn't, I was still replying to people if it was 11 o'clock at night, you know, clients and stuff. And I always tried to keep that sort of 8 o'clock cut off. I'm not going to reply. But if I was on my phone, I would. And I put my phone on sleep mode. And then I also got my phone where you can make the entire screen red. So it just takes away the blue light. So I'm not being
oh yes,
mentally
it's kind of yellow on
stimulated.
mine.
Yeah. So everything's red
Yeah.
and I can do stuff on my phone, but it's not keeping me awake. Instead, I'm getting sleepier. But sleep is, yeah, like you've got to have a good sleep routine. And I've got mine nailed, 90% of the time. Obviously, there's sometimes where it's not. But yeah, I think that is a big key for feeling mentally ready for the day, is having a good sleep routine. Like, I don't stop banging on about sleep to my clients, because especially in like fat loss journeys, and even if you're trying to put on weight, like if you're not sleeping right, you're not recovering, you're not going to lose fat because your scale weight's going to spike. Like, you're not, there's so much around sleep, and I don't shut up about sleep all day every day. And it's it's so important, and there's a reason why we can't go longer than a few days without sleeping and going insane, because we need it.
Literally. And I kind of had a bit of that phase. Maybe that was part of what fed my 2022 cycle of, I was like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Sure, look, I nearly did. Like, I nearly put myself completely in the ground of that. Like, you're just not giving yourself a chance. I do think some of that then as well is like, whether or not you've done a season, or whether or not you've gone to uni, or whether or not like you necessarily went as hard as maybe we did with some of that kind of thing of, you're kind of used to just, you get used at a certain point or for a certain length of time of kind of getting in whenever you get in and conking wherever you conk and however you pass out, kind of whatever, and then wonder how come you can't get back into a pattern again. And I hear that with clients sometimes, of, because we're very, like, I consider us very similar to Cerys, like we're success driven, like we like work, we have years of standards, all that kind of thing. And then it's like, well, why am I hitting a wall? And it's like, you're hitting a wall because you just have been, you've been in a different identity for a while, like you've been this other person for a while, which is you. And like, as I say, like that part of Lauren, she's there. Lethal Lauren, I actually felt my soul leave my body a little bit.
Lethal Lauren.
Like, I still can't get over Duncan.
Yeah.
Do you remember? I can't get over the Duncan thing these days. And Duncan, if you listen, like, love you. 100% love you. But I just couldn't get my head around it at, I don't know, when was I there? Like, June in Icon, where I was like, this is insane. And I was like, I could feel my soul leave my body, of where Lethal Lauren doesn't exist anymore. It was like, I was just mad to jump, do all the crazy things and stuff. And I was like, it's not, she's there, but she's there dormant. In a different way now. She's dormant. So, but like, those kind of days, Cerys, like, yeah. And I know we talk for like another hour and more plus, but what are kind of some of your biggest highlights, Cerys? Like, and let's go like in the broad spectrum of your 20s. Wow. And I know that's a big one, but like if you were to kind of narrow some of them down, what would be kind of...
Oh, that is a question. I feel like, you're like, oh my God, I've not lived that long. And then you think, actually, what have I been up to for the past nearly 7 years? I mean, the highlights, would be, obviously, I know I started doing my seasons at 18, but like doing them seasons, like I said, that made me into the person I am today. Starting my own business, absolutely throwing myself into the deep end, disregarding my uni degree, and actually taking a risk on what I'm passionate about, what I love, and it's paid off. And I guess even just like, being able to do something I love, be paid to do it, and not feel like I have to do anything else because this is my life. And just, do you know what, something as well I actually find quite a bit of a highlight for myself is everyone I meet that has seen me on Instagram first, for example, has seen my videos, my content. Every single person I then meet in person tells me, oh wow, you really are who you are on social media. And that means so much. Like, they're always like, you're so authentic, you're so yourself, like you're not selling someone else online to who you are unapologetically you. And you don't care if people don't like you, because all right, that's your problem, like, you carry on. But if you do like me, I like you. And like, and that I think sticks with me, because I hear it over and over again of how I am just the person I portray myself to be. And I think that means a lot, and it shows that all the self development I have done over the past few years has paid off, because I'm not afraid to be myself. But yeah, I think that's a big one. And just being able to go on holiday when I want to go on holiday, I think that's just a highlight for myself as well.
Massively. If that's not an incentive to have your own
business.
It's
prepare for hard work, but Like, it's rewarding.
I don't switch off. I never haven't, like, you know, whether it was a student or whether it was whoever, you know, that or an idea. I'm a devil for, like, the good ideas come like 5 minutes before sleep. It's like, where's the pen? You know, and that kind of thing. But it's worth it then when you can do the big things. You know, it's worth it then when or the little things. You know, those little moments of kind of going, you know, and seeing either an impact, but like, or having a moment for yourself.
I would say, like, I just think as well, like, do the things that scare you. Do the things that you think, oh, would I be able to do it? You know, like, you know, even like for me, you know, next year going to compete, 2 years, even a year ago, I wouldn't have thought I'd be able to do that. And it terrifies me. But at the same time, I know how hard I work. And the things that scare you will always be worth doing. And that's why I do like client photo shoots of normal girls, normal women who have never done anything like that before. It's terrifying. But not one of them has turned around on that day and thought, I should never have done this. Always do what scares you. And like for me, obviously, going to Zante on my own, starting my own business, doing my own photo shoots, like going to step on stage, these are all things that absolutely terrified me. And I don't regret a single thing, you know?
Yeah. It's so true, and you are that kind of person. And I know there's like no shadow of a doubt, like, for what like level you're going to bring to the bikini shoot, and that, in the sense that, like, I know you're just going to blow it out of the park kind of thing. And I'm curious, especially for anyone listening, like, what support systems have you in place, and what does this next step for you kind of look like?
Well, support systems. I mean, I do think I have a lot of support around me. You know, I have a coach myself. I have great set of friends that I know that I can talk to, like, especially like Tom, you know, being in the same field as me, like, he deals with a lot of my emotional outbursts, you know. But like family as well, like, as long as family know what's to come, like, they can be a good support system. They can also be horrendous if they don't understand what you're doing. So it's just about explaining, this is what's going to happen. Like, when I first did my proper diet, I wanted to murder every single person that lives in my house. But then when I explained to them, you know, they got so much better. And having support around you will guarantee you success in whatever you do. But you have to have a good support system around you. If someone is not helping you or is feeding you negativity all the time, push them away, because you don't need that. Like, and I've had to deal with that. I've had to deal with that a lot. You know, people who don't have your best interests at heart, you have to let them go. As hard as it may seem, as hard as you might want to hold on to that person and never let them go, if they are not benefiting you or bettering your life, you have to cut things off. And that's romantically, that's friendships, you know, that's family. You have to do what's best for you. You are number one, no matter what. And I think, you know, knowing you've got people who support you around you, you will succeed no matter what. And I know that I have that for sure. It's been, you know, it's taken time again to get there. You know, I do have my Zante friends and I do have my gym friends, and you know, it's very different people, but you know, the care they have about me is the same. The care they have for me, sorry, it's the same. And I can go to them with any problems and not feel stupid until they tell me I'm being stupid, and then I'm like, yeah, fair. You know, but I can talk to them about anything. And having that support around you, and no matter what age you are, no matter what you're pursuing or wanting to do, you have to have good support around you. And you've got to accept the fact that you might cut people off, you know, and if it's the right thing for you, you've got to do it. You know, like, it doesn't matter when anyone else thinks. If it's not helping you, see you later.
I love that, Chris, and it's so true. And I like add to that in saying that if it's a person or a place or a situation that brings out the crazy, and then that's where it's by, you know, and that's what I mean, where, like, and don't get me wrong, you know, and I know, like, where, you know, there's all kinds of setups, you know, we talk habits there as well, you know, in kind of sleep and alcohol, all that kind of thing. And then, you know, people and all kinds of situations, like, where if it brings out the crazy, or if it's not there to support you grow, you know, if it's trying to pull you back, then that's when it can feel like a cord cut, you know.
But you grieve it.
You know what? Yeah, you are. And like that takes time as well.
Definitely.
That's the benefit of a coach, particularly like in my case as well, Cerys. Like I know you mentioned too, but where, you know, they can see something ahead. And I'm like, even if I can't see it right now, and if I'm feeling something kind of different than the, you know, what the new reality will be like, and what if I'm feeling the complete opposite, but coach trusts it, it's like, okay, then it has to be okay, because I know that, you know, so it's, you know, yeah, they do know. And Cerys, I'm excited. I'm really excited to see, you know, the process for you, and as well as the result, because the result only comes from the process of the work. Yeah, is there any way that you'd like to kind of share with anyone listening if they want to get in touch with following your journey, or like to keep involved with Cerys Stonefield coaching?
So obviously on my Instagram, Cerys Stonefield coaching, you know, I'm documenting because I'm doing like a mock prep this time, just basically like a mini, you know, a practice run of what actually stage will be like next year. So I'm documenting that all the time, obviously documenting my clients' journeys, and I use my Instagram kind of like a journal. Like my stories, I literally just upload what's going on with my life. If it's me throwing water all over myself by accident, you know, or me getting obsessed with some form of food, which does tend to happen a lot, you know, garlic pepper is my current obsession, putting it on everything, you know, but it's all on Cerys Stonefield coaching on Instagram, and I post a little bit on TikTok, but it's a mix on TikTok, but that's just Cerys Stonefield. But yeah, everything is on there. And like, if you ever did want to contact me, even if it was just to have a chat about goals and stuff like that, like, you know, dropping me a message does not mean that you are committed to signing up for coaching. You know, if you just wanted a bit of help and advice, that is literally what I'm happy to do. You know, plenty of people have done it, you know, just asking for a bit of advice. I'm here to help at the end of the day, and if I can help you, then I'm happy to, you know, and that's why I love this job.
100%. Nothing's changed, Cerys. Nothing's changed with that from, as I say, G-spot days to now, where it is just the connection. It's the power of doing something for someone else. And you've done a lot for me, gal, over the years, kind of in big ways and quieter ways. And we didn't even get into any of that. And there's so many stories we didn't tell, but I'm sure we could. Could again. And for friends listening, as I say, anyone who knows Cerys knows the truth that it's always there, like whether you want it or whether you don't. There's no hidden veils. There's no you looking after yourself first, Cerys. You always have someone else's heart in mind. And for anyone listening, as I say, if you resonate with Cerys at all, she's the gal to, and you know, point you in a bit of a direction if she doesn't have all your answers, but she'll be sure to try to find them. I think there's so many stories. I'm not going to start talking about them now again, because as I say, we'll be here. Cerys, I'd love if you came back and kept us in the loop as well about on the journey of getting to stage or after the stage and that too. Thanks so much for being so open and
well, you
sharing.
Know like
as I say,
my heart's on my sleeve. I don't keep anything in. So I mean, I'm too open at times, you know. I'm happy to, like you said as well, like if it helps someone else, knowing that people have been in the same position. And like you said, you know, I do look after everyone else ahead of myself, which is again not the best thing in the world, but also is a good thing. I'm always thinking of others. You know, it's probably about time I thought about myself a bit more, but you know, we'll make that a goal for next year.
So you can do that. You can do that, and look where you're at now. Look where you're at now, like, and you can see that. Obviously, I can see some things don't change with kind of some symbols we hold on to for ourselves. Cerys wearing her necklace and that there. That, and I remember like again, as I say, so many stories. I remember like going to charge your Apple Watch, you know. So like as they say, there was a night, I don't know, circa 1920 or something, where it's the little things. It's the little things that matter, as I say, and those finer details. And Cerys is a gal who sees the small things and feels the big things. And I'm really grateful to, I've had so many stories up to now and so many to come yet. So thanks, as they say, for coming on.